Good afternoon, folks. I'm here to break down my trade that I took in the AM session. I want to say that I'm overall happy with my trade. There are, of course, areas that I could have, um, there are areas that I can improve in, and I'm gonna go over what was happening at the time, and my executions are on the screen. So I did post a video before now showing the short that I tried to pre-market. What I can say from that is that I should have waited until after 9:30 opening because news just came out on this candle. So I want to say my trade was a little bit premature, especially with the fact that we had relative equal lows below here and we have relative equal highs above here. So I do know that ICT did say once you have both ends of the market that has relative equal highs or lows, you should wait for one to be taken and try to target the upper side. So that's a journaling opportunity for me. So that's what that's my takeaway from this morning's loss. I did try to short in this order block or what I assumed would have been an order block and tried to take out these relative equal lows. But again, I thought it was there was one was the fact that it was right after the news release. There was more news at 9:45, but I was trying to trade before 9:30 open. They did end up going for these relative equal highs up here, so I didn't take a trade until the open. I originally wanted to wait until the news release came out, which that's also another point or area of opportunity for me to improve because I never normally try to trade ahead of the news releases, especially if it's high impact. When I entered the trade, I completely forgot that there was news at 9:45 and then I was like, okay, there is news at 9:45. I'm already in the trade. I was in drawdown because as you can see, I was in drawdown for a bit. And I'm like, I'm not gonna cut the trade. However, I am putting in my stop loss. I know that it was supposed to be high impact news, so I was expecting something crazy. However, it worked out fine, but that's not something that I wanna practice doing. But since I had already entered the trade, the reason for me entering the trade is that we gapped up higher for the RTH gap that was created. We gapped higher. So I was urging, and then in the beginning or before, I was already looking at these relative equal lows that was formed. So that was my first reason for being bearish this morning. We also have been taking buy side since we opened at 7, and then we had the RTH gap opening higher. So I wanted to see a return to 50% of the gap, hopefully targeting at least the lower quadrant of the gap. And the reason for that is because I wanted to see this low be taken. Um, so that was what my trade idea was. So going into the open, I was waiting. I was hoping that the manipulation would have happened after the news release, but it ended up happening right at the open. So that's why I ended up entering the trade before 9:45. And once I entered the trade, entered the trade based on this being an order block because these one, two, three, four up close candles, consecutive up close candles were my order block. So the moment that I traded below that, I know I learned this morning that ICT does use the opening price for order blocks. I normally use the low of the candle. So once it traded to the low, or below the candle's low, that's when I entered on this candle right here. So even though it traded below the opening price on this candle, I didn't enter. I wanted to see it come below this, and then this would have been a valid market structure shift as well. So I was being a little bit more patient to get my entry. And then again, I completely The news release was in the back of my mind at 9:45, so I just entered because I saw the opportunity, and I put my stop loss above 50% off the order block, which is these up close candles. So that's where my stop was. I was targeting, I think my stop was just a little bit above 50%. Uh, I was, I'm thinking it was right there. And the reason I think that is because I was targeting a 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio. So my stop loss was somewhere above here, maybe a little bit higher, but it wasn't all the way up here. It was over the mean. That was my target, over the mean threshold, and I wanted to also incorporate spread. So it was somewhere around there, and I was looking for these relative equal lows to be ran. Now the mistake that I made on this trade is that, keeping in mind that ICT did say that this week is going to be back and forth of price overlapping throughout this week because of the economic calendar. Um, the whole sim, I'm not, I don't even remember the name. But because of the economic calendar, the specific day one, day two, day three event that's being held, I did have that in the back of my mind that it should overlap yesterday because I posted a video yesterday and I tried to get the lowest hanging fruit. And so I did profit from yesterday's trade, and I was able to take more than one contract as well. So I was able to take partials for this trade because of the stop loss. I was only able to take one contract, so I had a one shot, one kill trade. So I was really focused more on my risk to reward, which is the 1 to 2. I really wanted to see a 1 to 2. I did originally put my take profit below this low, and the reason I did was because these are relative equal lows right here, and I'm like, it doesn't always take out the entire news candle. So I was like, and then if I had remembered that it was about what ICT said, I would have actually taken my profit here because the moment that it took this low, these relative equal lows, I would have thought it would be reasonable and remembered that it could take this high, come back all the way up and take this high because of the nature of this week. So I completely forgot about that part. That's also an opportunity that I can improve on. And I think what I am going to do is make notations like on my notepad beside my computer. I'm going to write down important points that I need to remember while I'm trading because you can enter a trade based off impulse and then remember that, hey, there are certain factors that you should consider. So I moved my stop, my take profit, not remembering the week, to these relative equal lows because I'm like, and it was fair to think that I was hoping that it would trade to at least the lower quadrant of the opening range gap, and then I'll take my profit there. And so it did come down and take this low out. When it did take this low out, I should have closed, but instead I brought my stop to break even. So I broke even here. If it was a regular week that it wasn't this particular price action, which is back and forth, I want to believe that it wouldn't have retraced this deep on me and I would have hit take profit. So it's not something to get upset about or to worry about happening because it's not normally this kind of price action going in the AM session. Normally price shouldn't retrace this far if it's gonna continue all the way down because it was a pretty good move for the day. So that's one thing that I take away. But I did enter in the order block right here. Let me remove this. So that I had that tool up to show you that I was trying to target a 1 to 2 risk to reward, which my focus shouldn't have been on the risk to reward for the trade. It should have been on the lowest hanging fruit because that's what we're meant to try to instill in us while we're learning how to become profitable. And I did get stop at break even right here. So that was the trade that I took during the AM session. It did eventually roll over after taking this high, engaging um, this liquidity here. it rolled over and took out this low eventually. I wasn't a part of that move. I was actually in class or the live session that ICT was having, and I was focusing on what he was saying. So I didn't capitalize on any of this move, but looking back at price action now, obviously with the benefit of hindsight, however, I am able to see certain areas that would have been an interest to me. Again, I know I have the benefit of hindsight, but one trade that I would not have been comfortable taking this trade. I know ICT pointed it out in the video. I don't know why I wouldn't. Obviously, his explanation made sense, and it completely makes sense. There's a high in here, inversion fair value gap. It all made sense why it would come over here. But the reason I wouldn't be comfortable taking the trade, as I said in my first video of this channel, I am never a good continuation trader. I'm always looking for a reversal. If it's going up, I'm going to short it. And if it's going down, I'm going to long it. I am never comfortable taking a short if the market has moved a lot of points down already. So the fact that for the entire opening, after the opening range, we have taken all these sell side coming down, taken all these sell side coming down, and then we took the sell side again, went up, reject, and then we were coming off of a new day opening gap here, and it was coming up. There was nothing in me that would have been that would have seen that this was a shorting opportunity. The only time I maybe would have taken it, it was when it took liquidity here and traded below this opening price. That's normally a really good um reversal pattern for me. That's one of my entry models is whenever liquidity is engaged, which is these relative equal highs here inside of a inversion fair value gap. Um, and then a trade below here. These two up close candles, I would have entered that market right there. Um, but again, I have to be completely honest. I'm not sure if I would have taken this trade just because we've moved and taken sell side so often. So that's a weak, like a seriously weak area for me, knowing when the day is gonna actually be trending, because this is really a trending day. There's some days that it would have not, this would have happened and then it would have shoot right across. And of course, we always run risk of losing. So it's not a case where I'm going to be like, okay, I have to know all the time, but I have to also accept where my weakness is. And my weakness is taking continuation trades. After seeing it take sell side this much, I know that this is buy side. However, there's this inefficiency up here. There's buy side here, buy side there. And we've moved so far down and we're bouncing from a new day opening gap. I would not have, in all fairness, I wouldn't have taken this trade, but I need to go and study what ICT taught about this. I'm gonna watch the video again later on today and take notes as to why this would be valid and see if I can back test it and forward test it a little bit to try to improve taking continuation trades. Um, but I'm not gonna trade it in my trading combine right now because it's not my strong suit. But I'm very interested in learning, like seeing this happening over and over again, because he always said once you see it happening over and over again, you'll be able to um s- see it happening live in price action, and you'll be able to trust it a lot more. I just haven't taken these trades enough to trust it. So, but there was, and then the time of day was off. It was after 11. It was London has ended. It was going into our lunch hour, which is 11:30. So this would definitely not would have been a trade that I would have anticipated. However, another beautiful trade that I loved was this trade because it was after 11:30. We were in the lunch macro, so between 11:30 and 1:30, ICT always says that we can expect a retracement to at least the first swing high. that is created after 10. The first swing high that we come up on while we're chasing was created after 10 and before 11:30. So even if I didn't go here, I could have caught this high right here. But this would have been a trade that I would have been able to anticipate because it was after 11:30. We moved down so much. I would have definitely been looking for a pullback, which is a not a full blown reversal, but like a retracement. And again, that's where my strength is. I'm really not good at seeing continuation trades to the same direction it's been moving. So I would have seen this was a beautiful trade. I would have taken it the moment it traded above here because this would have been the change in the state of delivery. Order blocks are what we know as order blocks so far, what our mentor have taught us. This would have validated the order block for me because it took like it sent and price took liquidity here and then it pulled back at the proper time of day and it wasn't in the 11:50 to 12:10 macro, which is normally a reversal macro. So a lot of things would have indicated that hey, this would be a valid order block because it was after 11:30. It took liquidity here. There's a market structure shift here. Even if I didn't want to wait on the market structure shift, the moment it traded above this after taking liquidity after 11 o'clock inside of 11:50 macro, I would have definitely went long here with my stop below here. No, I would have went long here with my stop below the order block. And I would have targeted this high, mainly because it has smooth highs right here. But even if I had taken it right there, that would have been a really good trade either way. If I had missed this entry, say I wasn't sure or I wanted more confirmation, I would have waited for this displacement. I could have entered on the fair value gap here, or I could have waited for this to give me a reaction out of the fair value gap, traded above this opening price here. These two down close candles would have been my order block entry if I wanted an order block entry, and I would have taken it from here up to those smooth highs. So there's a lot of opportunity here. Time of day aligns very well with the macro. The time of day aligns very well with the setup. So this is a trade I would have profited on, but I was in class, I wasn't on the charts looking, and I haven't traded the lunch macro a lot either. And then this was a really nice trade, but again, this wasn't something I would anticipate. Maybe just the fact that it took relatively equal lows here, and these are relatively equal lows as well. And it would have, my entry would have been right here because it traded below these two up close candles, created this liquidity sweep here. So this would have been a trade stop here, and then I would have targeted. However, this wasn't aligning with any time that ICT would have um, given us to work with because the lunch macro has already done what it's designed to do, which is take run stops on morning session, which was that. So the only narrative I would have had was the fact that it took stops from the morning session and then it traded below two up close candles after taking liquidity, and that I would have entered on an order block. And the fact that it was post 12:30, because what I think I understand is that for every hour, the first 30 minutes sets up the stage for the last 30 minutes. Excuse me, that was my daughter. Every 30 minutes of the hour, the first 30 minutes of the hour sets up the stage for the last 30 minutes of the hour. That's what I get to understand. So that would have been the reason I would have taken that trade because it was post 12:30. Targeted any inefficiencies or um, a low I was forming. But yes, that wraps up my day. I am going to be watching the session that was done this morning. I'm going to watch it again. I was in class, but I want to go ahead and watch it again, take notes, see if there was anything I missed. I'm going to do some back testing sessions. Possibly I will trade Possibly I will trade the London session. If I do, I will post it. If not, then I'll see you guys tomorrow and I'll explain my AM session tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day and thank you guys for watching.